So you want to see some creepy stuff?
Yeah, let's see some creepy stuff. But if it's economic creepy stuff, I'm out.
Mm.
Oh, I'm out.
Well, hear me out.
Oh, wow. How, man, you're going to show me a creepy graph?
No. So there's a war brewing. I keep talking about this war it's brewing. I said to you, who do you want to know the most about? Fed, healthcare, Pentagon, Treasury, whatever. You said healthcare. I get it. That's the biggest one. But this one's actually bigger because you know what the Fed's balance sheet is? Fed's balance sheet's like 8 trillion of money that we owe them, technically.
We
owe the Fed.
Oh,
did you see this already?
Okay, this is very creepy. This is very, very okay. You're right, Brandon. This economic and creepy at the same time.
Best of both worlds. Don't threaten me with a good time.
This video is worth watching.
Yeah.
Pay attention at home.
So this is 2009. Ben Bernanke being asked, where did the $500 billion go?
Who got the money?
To financial institutions in Europe and other countries.
Which ones?
I don't know.
$500 billion, and you don't know who got the money?
The loan went to the loans go to the central banks, and they then put them out to their institutions to try to bring down short-term interest rates in dollar markets around the world.
Well, let's start with which central banks got the money.
There are 14 of them, which are listed in our. I'm sure they're listed in here somewhere.
Very nervous.
All right. So, who actually made that decision to hand out $1 trillion that way? $500 billion. Who made that decision?
The Federal Open Market Committee.
Okay. And was it done at one time or in a series of meetings?
A series of meetings.
And under what legal authority?
We have a long-standing legal authority to do swaps with other central banks.
Do you happen to know anything?
It's not an emergency authority of any kind.
Anything specific about it?
Do you know my counsel says Section 14 of the Federal Reserve Act.
That's spooky stuff right there. So I don't believe that they did always have the authority to do that. Like I do remember seeing that the swap lines were created in 2008 because they needed to get dollars to the rest of the world. But I mean, still, like, yeah, I can't say where that went. That's super creepy. And I mean, like I said, I mean, I know I sound like a broken record now. I swear to God, I am like meticulously putting this episode together about like I'm just trying to freaking nail it about what's going on with the Fed because it like pieces together perfectly with my series that I'm making. But like with the way the Fed got started, the degree to which like they act arrogant, like we have no right to know what they're doing. Like I have another video here from the maestro. You ever heard of the maestro before?
Nope.
They called this guy the maestro because of the degree to which he tried to micromanage the market. This is the longest serving Federal Reserve chairman ever, Alan Greenspan.
Relationship. What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. So long as that is in place and there is no evidence that the administration or the Congress or anybody else is requesting that we do things other than what we think is the appropriate thing, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter. And I've had very good relationships with presidents.
This is in honor of Alan Satoshi Greenspan, by the way.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, what I'm going to say right now, you're going to hate it.
Okay. Let's hear it.
This is bigger than MAGA.
Yeah.
And I think this one thing that Trump wouldn't even get close.
He hasn't. He's been dancing around the line.
And I don't think it's gonna solve this. Like,
well, he hasn't uttered the words "at the end of the Fed" once.
No, if you want the Trump presidency to go down in history, out of all the things that need to be controlled, would be this.
Well, yeah, this is the reason that we are able to go into debt the way that we did. Like so I mean, guys, like go watch the playlist I have of The Men Who Broke America. Like I'm trying to meticulously outline how we got to where we are, how we got to 36 trillion. But basically, we've had 3 central banks before. You know, the first 2, I outlined them in those episodes. They were started by European bankers, mainly the Rothschilds, ended terribly both times. like bad inflation. Like we fought like hell to get rid of them. And then Trump always says this too, like the most prosperous time in American history was 1870 until 1913. That was like the Industrial Revolution, like where all the great companies were built and everything. We were prosperous, low debt, everything. Then in 1907, they orchestrate this fake stock market crash that was totally not organic. And then as a result of that, they start advocating like, yeah, we need a federal safety net. We need a federal safety net so this can never happen again. Like we can't have runs on the banks like this. And then that bitch ass Woodrow Wilson like starts advocating for it. They start having the Ivy League schools advocate for it. So they like force in the Federal Reserve and the IRS in the same year in 1913. And then just coincidentally, the next year World War I happens, like where we wouldn't have been able to pay for World War I if that hadn't happened. So yeah, this is like the thing that funds everything. This is like the thing that gives us the ability to, not be anchored to anything. This and the gold standard specifically.
But I don't think, because you give Trump a pass about a lot of things.
Because I mean, he's doing more than I ever imagined a president would, aside from myself.
But I don't think he's going to get anywhere near this.
I like the things he's saying about the Fed, but
that people said things before. Actually, need to be. Do you hear Greenspan,
that arrogant prick,
talking about the number one guy elected by the American people?
Yeah,
like how dismissive he is.
Yeah, well, like I mean, it's like, what do they know? Like, what conversations do they have behind the scenes where they could have that level of entitlement? Because Congress is supposed to be their boss. And you remember there's a there's a clip out there of Jerome Powell getting asked, like, would you step down if Trump asked you to step down? He's like, nope. They're like, what if he like strongly insists on it? He's like, no legal standing. He's like, they're like, huh? He's like, there's no legal standing saying the president has any authority over me.
I think this is a roof of everything.
The Fed?
Yeah.
It's the top level.
It's a top level.
And then the people behind the Fed that own the Fed, like that's really the top level, which like, who I think that is, because the 13 or what was it, whatever number of people it was, like 8 people or something, the ones that got together, Jekyll Island, started the Fed, like they were all representatives for one family, the same family that started the first 2 central banks. Like, I mean, I don't know to what degree that family is still intact, to what degree they're still like calling shots, but like I think there's a strong chance that the majority of our national debt is owed to a few families that are behind the Fed.
I don't like this, Brandon. I don't like this at all. I don't like people talking down to the American president like that. I feel uncomfortable.
Especially the people who make money, who like create the money.
It doesn't feel democratic. It doesn't feel fair to the American people. I'm no communist, but I don't like this at all.
Well, dude, speaking of communism, like I can't think of a thing that's more communist than like a committee of people getting together every month and deciding what the price of money is. Like we're supposed to let the market decide what the price of things are. And we're letting a group of people get together once a month and say like, I think this should be the price of money this month because I feel that way. Like who's telling them to make those decisions? Like we never hear about that.
I'm huge on free market economy. I think the market is an entity that reflects the desires, fears, and dreams of everyone on the planet, and that does a really good job at it. So this market meddling that those guys do makes me very uncomfortable. Uncomfortable.
Yeah. No, like they could add or reduce the amount of money in the economy. That's a superpower. So this is the Fed balance sheet that I always talk about. This means the amount of mortgage-backed security bonds and U.S. Treasury bonds that they own. Like the guy said, like Bernanke said in the video, they sent the $500 billion over to Europe or other places around the world to keep the interest rates low in the bonds because that makes conditions easier for everybody. So that's what this is. They bought a bunch of bonds in 2008 to ease conditions, to lower the rate, to like kind of grease the economy. And then, funny enough, when Trump gets in, they start quantitative tightening, which is when this goes down. And then, it goes way up during COVID, then going down now. So everybody's confused. Why are rates going down, but the mortgages are still going up? Because the Fed still owns mortgages and they're selling them off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the more like, if they just sold off all their mortgages and all their bonds, like the rates would go up like crazy.
Yeah. This is really something to think about, Brandon.
Yeah. And look at that number is 9 trillion that peaked at.
You think they're going to keep on dropping it?
Yeah, that's their plan. They've been dropping it since 2022, and they did a quick little uptick when that bank crisis happened in 2023. But yeah, they've been steadily going down.
That bank crisis went very under the radar.
Well, JP Morgan wins again. They got to buy the thing for pennies on the dollar. If you enjoyed the short clip, click right here to watch the full episode, and remember to subscribe to the channel. God bless.